An entire refrigerated section is now devoted to plant-based meat, engineered to look and cook like beef. Both sit in the same aisle and cook the same way, but what's inside is dramatically different. The plant-based meat market grew from under $1 billion to over $8 billion in a decade. People buy plant-based meat for the environment, their health, or animal welfare. Each claim deserves scrutiny. Front-of-pack claims position these products as nutritionally superior, but the full picture needs the back label too. Under the NOVA classification system, plant-based meat sits firmly in the ultra-processed category. The ingredient list reads like a chemistry catalog: isolates, modified starches, and multiple natural flavors. Methylcellulose, a chemically modified cellulose fiber, acts as the binder that holds the patty together. A beef patty needs 2 ingredients. A popular plant-based burger typically needs 18 to 22. A long ingredient list alone doesn't mean unhealthy, but ultra-processed status links to real disease risk patterns. A 2024 BMJ meta-analysis linked high ultra-processed food intake to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and mortality risk. Most of that research predates widespread plant-based meat use, so direct data on this category stays limited. A 2020 Stanford trial compared plant-based meat and animal meat over 8 weeks in 36 people, showing changes in cardiovascular risk markers. That group eating plant-based meat showed modest drops in LDL cholesterol and body weight. But 36 people over 8 weeks is too small a study to extrapolate to long-term health outcomes. Harvard research links swapping processed meat for plant protein to better cardiovascular outcomes, broadly defined. Plant-based burgers often match or exceed beef in sodium, 370 to 500 milligrams per patty. Unseasoned beef has little natural sodium. The sodium in plant-based meat comes from processing. Plant-based burgers have less saturated fat than beef, but coconut oil narrows that gap. Coconut oil is used because its melting behavior mimics how beef fat renders when cooked. Pea protein isolate has a good amino acid profile, just slightly lower quality than beef protein. Pea protein scores about 0.82 on protein quality versus beef's 0.92. Both are high quality. Beef's heme iron absorbs at 15 to 35% efficiency. Plant non-heme iron absorbs far less. Equal milligrams of iron on a label doesn't mean equal iron absorbed by your body. Beet juice extract is added purely for visual effect, that reddish, bleeding look when cooked. The environmental case for plant-based meat is much stronger than the nutritional one. Beef produces roughly 10 to 20 times more greenhouse gas emissions per kilogram of protein. Livestock protein needs roughly 20 times more land per gram than plant protein directly. This is due to the inefficiency of feeding grain to animals to produce meat. That environmental edge is strongest against feedlot beef. Regenerative grazing complicates the comparison. Beef needs roughly 15 to 20 times more water per gram of protein than plant-based meat. Manufacturing energy offsets some of plant-based meat's edge, but beef still comes out worse overall. Whole lentils or chickpeas match plant-based meat's protein with far less processing and impact. A can of black beans matches the protein with less sodium, 2 ingredients, and lower cost. Tofu and tempeh give complete protein from whole soybeans with minimal processing steps. Tempeh, fermented whole soybeans, offers better protein digestibility and natural B vitamins from fermentation. Plant-based meat's welfare case is simple. No animal slaughter is required to produce it. But large-scale crop farming still causes habitat disruption and indirect harm to wildlife. Ethicists debate whether avoiding slaughter outweighs the ecological cost of industrial crop farming. Regenerative livestock systems complicate the simple plant-based versus meat ethical comparison entirely. The real environmental picture depends on land management, climate, and supply chain, not just a label. The more useful comparison isn't plant-based meat versus beef. It's plant-based meat versus whole plant foods. Diet quality scores rank whole plant foods highest, with plant-based meat sitting in the middle. Many households add plant-based meat alongside their usual diet instead of replacing conventional meat. Plant-based meat typically costs 2 to 4 times more per gram of protein than beef. Lentils, chickpeas, tofu, and tempeh give comparable protein at a fraction of that cost. A 2022 study over 16 weeks compared biomarkers across plant-based meat, whole plant food, and omnivore diets. Plant-based meat eaters landed between omnivores and whole plant food eaters on metabolic markers.
Despite being made from plants, most plant-based burgers have only 2 to 3 grams of fiber.
Protein isolation strips out fiber and much of the micronutrient matrix from the whole legume. Whole peas versus pea protein isolate is like whole wheat versus white flour, structurally. New fermentation-derived proteins may eventually simplify formulations and improve nutrition beyond current isolates.
Cultivated meat grows real animal muscle cells in a bioreactor, a fundamentally different technology.
Cultivated meat received its first U.S. regulatory approvals in 2023, still an early commercial category. Traditional fermentation offers a low-tech way to boost plant protein digestibility without industrial extraction. The most nutritious plant-based approach is built on whole legumes, tempeh, vegetables, and grains. Switching from hot dogs or bacon to plant-based meat is likely a modest nutritional upgrade. For someone already eating quality meat in moderation, the case for switching is far less clear. Its best role is as a transition food for reducing meat, not a daily health food. Dietitians note plant diet benefits come from whole foods, not ultra-processed plant-based substitutes. Using it occasionally while building most protein from whole foods is the balanced approach. Plant-based sausages often carry even more sodium than burgers, some exceeding 600 milligrams per serving. Plant-based chicken nuggets add another layer of processing to mimic chicken's fibrous texture. Textured vegetable protein is made by extruding soy flour under heat and pressure, destroying its natural structure. Chicken breast delivers 26 grams of protein per 100 grams. Plant-based versions give 12 to 18. Plant-based meat's fat comes mostly from refined seed and coconut oils, a simpler fat profile compared to animal proteins. Additives like methylcellulose and gum stabilizers don't exist in whole plant foods at all. Carrageenan, a seaweed thickener, faces ongoing debate over possible effects on gut inflammation. Regulators consider carrageenan safe at typical levels, though more human clinical data would help. Like fortified cereal, plant-based meat adds back synthetic vitamins lost during processing. Fortified nutrients may look equal to meat on paper, but absorb differently in the body. Plant-based meat isn't allergen-free. Pea, soy, and wheat gluten are all common components. Coconut oil appears in nearly every formulation. Worth checking if you have a coconut allergy. For people with multiple allergies, plant-based meat can be harder to navigate than conventional meat. Made with plants has no legal definition. Good source of protein is a regulated defined claim. Skip the front panel and judge these products by sodium, fiber, and ingredient list, like any food. A homemade black bean and oat burger gives more fiber and fewer additives at lower cost. It won't replicate beef as precisely, but it offers genuinely whole food nutrition commercial versions can't. Lentil soup, chickpea stew, and black bean tacos are simple, high-protein, whole food alternatives. A week of whole food plant meals costs 2 to 3 times less than commercial plant-based meat. Its real value is convenience, fitting into cookouts and fast food while cutting conventional meat. After rapid growth, plant-based meat sales plateaued and partly declined by 2022 and 2023. People who quit these products cite dissatisfaction with taste and concern over heavy processing. Producers have been reformulating since 2022 to cut sodium and simplify ingredient lists. Next-generation products may use whole food protein bases with shorter lists and higher fiber. Check sodium and fiber, and honestly ask if tofu or lentils would serve the same purpose. The verdict: a real environmental win, a modest upgrade on processed meat, but not a health food. It has a genuine role as an occasional convenience, just not as a daily health food. Nutrition quality tracks the processing spectrum, from whole legumes down to commercial plant-based meat. Build your daily foundation on whole legumes and use plant-based meat only occasionally. Plant-based doesn't mean healthy, and processed doesn't mean bad. Subscribe to Grocery Science for the nuance.